Well, Parish President Robby Miller, well, he's tired. I don't blame him because it's been a wild night with Francine coming through the parish from one end to the other. But it's over now. It's in our rearview mirror. And although those of us without electricity just want the lights to come back on, boy, do we have a lot to be proud of and grateful for.
We really do, Ken. We prepared, we waited. That's kind of the tough part, is waiting for Francine to get here and get through. As she passed through, it looks like that we're in really good shape. We do have a good number of folks, 20,000+ people without power. And I understand that that's going to be uncomfortable till they get it done. But in the most part, we're able to move around the parish. There's very few streets with trees and power lines. Especially when you start looking at our last comparison of Ida, we're in really good shape.
Well, looking back, we rarely had any roads closed during this event.
True. And our guys were able to get out right away and clear some. There were about 8 or 10, I think, that they cleared overnight. And there's still 6. Probably most of them have power lines, and so we're waiting for Entergy to give us the go-ahead and for them to get there. And look, Entergy's done a lot of work after Ida to harden their system or make it more robust. So we'll get to see if that's paying off by the way that they get to bring the power back on, hopefully a lot quicker.
And there are crews on hand. I mean, this was an expected event here.
Well, and they were already out. There was, although the count's going up and down because of the way the system works, I guess sometimes you don't realize that you bring a section on, it challenges an area that has issues and it goes back down. So we're going to have that a little bit during the day. But they were out. Our guys are out working. Entergy's out working. All of our first responders are there. If an individual has an emergency, make sure you call 911 and you're going to get help.
I know it's apples and oranges to compare our response to what they're enduring on the South Shore. But on the other hand, when you look at the mayhem in New Orleans compared to here, and it's a larger city, of course, but on the other hand, it's almost like they didn't learn anything from any of the storms that they've been through, whereas we're actually teaching the course in it. We're often cited as experts around the country on resiliency.
Well, Louisiana as a whole has a lot of experience in this, and I think we do a very good job. And thankfully, our emergency operations team and our whole parish government, when we switch to that mode, just goes to work. I think we learn something. I know we learn something each time we go through it, and we get a little bit better. We implement those new changes. And then when you have Entergy and building out more robust systems after storms, that helps a lot too. We were fortunate that we didn't get the rain that we thought we were going to get. So I think that you didn't see hardly any streets flooding. The lake being pushed in for the last week has probably caused us as much angst on the south end of the parish, those low-lying roads, as the rain that we had last night.
What about the rising river stages? I mean, is that likely to cause a problem?
Well, we're watching it closely. Our first inclination on this, looking at what the rainfall was and where it fell, we believe that the river's going to be okay, but we're waiting for the experts' river forecast to tell us. And we know where they are. If the river's at 17 feet or if it's at 20 feet or 24 feet, we know what it does. So as soon as they give us those projections, we'll start preparing and notifying folks if indeed there's action that needs to be taken.
One lesson you can draw, I guess, is that sometimes the information you get from the so-called experts is just not accurate. I mean, this storm did not do what they said it was going to do.
Well, the hurricanes, it's a science, and it's not an exact science, though. And the weather changes, as we know. But if you look at, other than, the first cone, we were in the first cone of era, so they got it right there, and then they kept narrowing it down. I don't like to pick on them too much because the weather's just one of those things that, especially here, it just changes. But they, we if you remember, this thing started off going to the Texas-Louisiana line, and it now looks like, I think I got confirmation from Channel 6 meteorologists that the eye went it went up the east side of Tangipahoa Parish. So that storm moved east a long way during its course to get here.
And we could have had a major hurricane, of course. I'm just thinking about all the steps you've taken. Like, for example, we have a lot of supplies here at any given time. You're working, not ready to cut the ribbon on it, but a distribution center in Independence that'll serve the whole North Shore for supplies after an event like a hurricane. And so even if it had been worse. You only opened 3 shelters, only a handful of people took advantage of them, but you were set up to do more. You had the school board represented here at the Emergency Operations Center, so that if you needed to pull the trigger on more shelters, at a moment's notice, you could have done that. So we've really learned a few things about resiliency.
Well, I do believe that we're ready. I hope we never have to do it. I'm glad that we didn't last night. And but you're right, we would have done what we had to do. Actually the warehouse part of the Independence facility is operational. It has supplies there, and I would imagine that if the North Shore needs some things from GOSEP, that it'll come out of there and take care of it. But it looks like as far as the whole North Shore, we actually did okay. We got hit, and there's some trees down, power lines, some power outages, but no significant flooding. Our neighbors to the south, Jefferson Parish and Orleans, but especially Jefferson, looks like they have some flooding issues, and our parish presidents group's been very good with each other. We have a text group going on, and we're all talking to each other and ready to support. And looks like overall, even there, it's other than there's not a lot of damage. There's just water on the streets and in some homes.
When a parish or any entity looks resilient and like they'll be back to normal after even a blow, that is attractive to businesses, is attractive to residents. It's a place you would want to live. So we come out of this looking good.
I think so. I think that our folks did a good job being ready. Look, our businesses did a good job. If looking around, they're starting to come back very early this morning, like right now, to normal operations. As long as there's workers had electricity or don't have trees and things like that, everybody's coming to work. Our citizens pull together and do what they need to make sure to get us back to normal as quickly as possible too, and we really appreciate that.
Well, it's early to ask this question though. If every disaster is a learning experience, what do you get out of Francine?
It might be a little bit early to know, but I'm sure we'll find something out. Right now, I think that as much as it didn't happen, it was a good practice again, because it's been 3 years. We had Ida and then 2 years of nothing. We didn't even activate at all. So it gets us back in practice, if nothing else. It makes us ask those questions that you've been asking me, and talking about the supplies and talking about how to make sure that we have the shelters ready to go and who the personnel are. Because in parish government, every employee of parish government has a role in the emergency operations. So it may not be the job they do during the day every day, but they have a role in the emergency operations, and the whole parish goes to work. So when and I mean everybody has something to do. So it's a pretty big operational shift whenever we go into emergency mode.
Well, even running the landfill has a place in an emergency like this.
That's right, and we're going to work today to see if we can get it open maybe later today, but it'll definitely be open in the morning. The only reason why we didn't open today is because we have people that worked overnight, and the garbage haulers hadn't told us that they were ready to roll yet either. So, but we'll be ready to go and make sure anybody that has stuff that has to come we'll get it to the landfill for them.
Well, that's the only way, opening the landfill, that you can get household garbage pickup back and up and running. So it's important. But again, an example that all of parish government has to be of one mind.
That's true, and our folks do a great job doing that. Our directors are great leaders, and I'm very fortunate that I get to lead that group, and they make it. I'll just say it. They make it easy for me to be able to do what we do.
Well, again, from a distance, watching on television or however people are observing the reaction to Francine, this looks like a together place where you'd want to live or start a business.
Well, there's no doubt that we would like to make a place like that, and that we welcome newcomers, businesses, and new people moving here.
That's the slogan.
Our slogan being "Move Here," and when we do that, it talks about obviously people moving here, but it also talks about what we just went through. Our parish, whenever people want to have a good time, we move. We have festivals and fairs more than anybody else. Whenever there's bad times, we move to make sure that we take care of each other, and that we step up the game to make sure that whoever's affected gets whole again as quickly as possible. And that's probably the move here part about how we move to take care of each other is probably more important than the move here and bring your business here.